Navalny was put in prison. A lot of the other one of the core allies of Russia, if you want to call it that. It's almost inseparable. Half of Ukraine is ethnic Russians on the eastern part. They suddenly become a candidate to join NATO in 2004 with this Orange Revolution, and the same thing in Georgia. Then, on top of that, in January 2007, the Bush administration announces that it is requesting the government of Poland and the government of the Czech Republic to install what it calls an anti-missile defense system, including missiles in Poland and radar installations in the Czech Republic, to protect against possible rogue nuclear missile attacks from Iran.
Which is ridiculous. You would have those in Turkey or you'd have those in Israel, which are already there. It's really, according to the former head of Star Wars, Dr. Bob Bowman, and others we've interviewed, it's really a sneak attack weapon, so you can nuke Russia, as NATO's stated their new policy is a preemptive nuke attack, and if Russia tries to respond back under mutually assured destruction, then you can shoot down their badly coordinated, limited response back with your missile defense system and protect your main bases in Western Europe and your army so they can then move in to the freshly nuked Russia.
Precisely. This, in a kernel, is what I talk about in full spectrum dominance. And not surprisingly, Russia is reacting to this. They say, hold on, step back a little bit, Washington. Easy now. This is a casus belli. This is a declaration of war. And the fact that right after the Georgian invasion of South Ossetia and the Russian response to that, Poland, the Polish government, was pressured by the Bush administration to sign up with the missile defense thing after long months of negotiations and horse trading. That has put the world, as I put it, on a hair trigger for nuclear war by miscalculation.
And we see more miscalculation with the preemptive attack with the U.S.-backed forces in Georgia against Ossetia and Abkhazia. I mean, you've studied geopolitical plan for a long time. It seems like this is a more aggressive, virulent crop, or is it just so late in the game? I mean, obviously we know it's not just Bush. The big boys are backing all this. Yeah. Do you see, I mean, you get the question.
Yeah. This one in Georgia is extremely complex. I think the Cheney crowd, the people around Cheney in the military-industrial complex and the intelligence community, wanted this provocation in Georgia. They control the propaganda, so of course their CNN version of events is that Russia aggressively attacks this tiny little country, Georgia, and of course Americans love to champion the underdog, so American public opinion is swayed behind this big, nasty bully Russia. But the reality was quite the opposite. Israel was up to their teeth in training and arming the Georgian armed forces.
Yeah, Israel's hungry for some empire of its own.
Well, there's some speculation that Israel was about building a military base, an air base in southern Georgia, which would put its missiles and its aircraft 500 kilometers closer to Tehran in Iran, the capital of Iran, and the various strategic sites in Iran, than it would by a strike from Tel Aviv or someplace in Israel. So it's an extremely complex, this is what Churchill called the soft underbelly of Europe, this whole area in the Caucasus and the Balkans. And
okay, condensing this down in your view, because I want to get into this full spectrum dominance and also some of the GMO, which I think is the greatest threat and much more dangerous than even the nuclear threats and chemical, because it can't be put back in the bottle in some cases potentially. Yep. But briefly, where do you see now that the Georgian attack has been rebuffed? Where do you see this going? We see 700 and something million from the Euro, European Union going in, NATO, IMF. We see $1 billion coming from the U.S., more weapons being brought in. We see the leader of Georgia saying he may launch another attack. Where do you see this going? Well,
I don't think the leader of Georgia is going to launch another attack for a little while. He reports coming out of from Georgian journalists and others inside Georgia at the time when Russian jets flew over.
He was cowering in the street, crying. But
yeah, absolutely. There's a BBC video clip that's out on the internet where he's being interviewed around this time, and he starts nervously taking his necktie and starts chewing and swallowing his necktie.
Yeah, he's on national television looking like a cartoon caricature of a schizophrenic.
Yeah, yeah. And I think he's known to be a highly unstable, pathological individual who's very vengeful in a clan sort of way to any of his opponents. There are accusations from Georgian journalists that he actually was behind the murder of some of his political rivals. I can't prove that one way or the other, but all indications are he's a very nasty character.
So where do you see this going?
Well, I see that we're entering an extremely dangerous new phase. Now, what I would watch very closely is the events around Ukraine. If the Prime Minister Tymoshenko has pulled her party out of the government, and the coalition with Yushchenko has collapsed, Yushchenko of the Orange Revolution, because she refused to condemn Russia for the events in Georgia. And if that allows a government to be formed with the opposition party and leave Yushchenko out in the cold, then you might have a whole new constellation where Ukraine would no longer be applying for NATO membership, and that would substantially change the balance of power in that whole Central Asia zone around Russia.
All right, I'm going to skip this network break with our guest. You're going to hear here routinely. I'm really impressed with his research and information. Just an amazing information. We'll give you his websites as well. We're going to skip this break with William Engdahl right now on the Infowars.com streams. Let's finish up the next 3 minutes with Russia, and then I want to give people a prelude to the national security, the global national security state, your full spectrum dominance book, and then also the GMO. Okay, let's keep talking here. Finishing up with the Russia situation and where you see it going, because a lot of other experts and yourself and others have talked about the Russians did move some nukes into Ossetia, South Ossetia. They said if precision weapons are used, their general went on TV and said, if you use precision weapons on us, we'll use nukes on you, theater weapons. And I look at the body language, and you're seeing reality. This isn't the pompous, fake Western BS. These aren't the fat, evil, communist. I mean, you're looking at these guys, and their generals actually look completely freaked out. So, give us your take.
I think the crucial thing that's congealing around all of this is the look a little bit more east to something called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which up until about 2 years ago was kind of a shell organization that Russia and China set up in the 7 or 8 years ago to kind of coordinate their activities and talk about how they can prevent another currency crisis like the one that hit Russia and the Asian countries back in the late 90s. Now the Shanghai Cooperation Organization has emerged as what I call Alfred Mackinder's nightmare. That is cooperation across Eurasia, with the exception of Western Europe, but between Russia and China.
Now, the anti-communists are going to say this was all staged and that the China-Soviet split was staged. Your take on that?
Okay. Well, they have quite an interesting ideology, but it gets a little boring after a while. In terms of reality, China and Russia are very, very unlikely partners.
The Shanghai Cooperative Organization, we're continuing with academic, author, researcher William Engdahl, who's going to stay with us 5 minutes in the next segment and then spend a couple hours with us next week. Very gracious to do that. Finishing up with what you see in the future, Russia and China teaming up for their New World Order, as they've said, against, quote, our New World Order. But our New World Order is a global corporate whorehouse where we fit the bill and the bankers basically urinate on us from on high. Please continue.
Well, that's quite a literary description of the reality. I have to laugh here. Good Texas poetry there.
Oh, thank you.
I think the point I was making before the break was the Shanghai Cooperation Organization now is emerging as the worst nightmare of Washington. Their aggressive policies, the grab for Iraqi oil and the militarization of the Middle East after 2003 by the Bush-Cheney administration and the help of Tony Blair, the militarization of Eurasia through U.S. military bases all across Afghanistan, into Pakistan, into Kyrgyzstan and elsewhere, and for a while in Uzbekistan, that has backfired, and Russia and China begin to realize that they have more in common than they do as opponents. And they have very carefully begun to resolve border disputes going back to the 1960s between the two countries.